In Malaysia, the pandemic has surged again, forcing the government to implement various movement control orders. This has led the public to develop a condition known as the pandemic fatigue. In our following report, a doctor explains what is pandemic fatigue and how do we prevent it.
In Malaysia, since the outbreak of the pandemic, the situation has been fluctuating. The number of confirmed cases in the beginning increased by the hundreds daily. However, with the combined effort of the local people, there was a period of time where most places have already controlled the spreading of the virus. In September, there was another outbreak yet again. For the past week, the number of confirmed cases risen by the thousands daily. Wanting to put an end to the pandemic while also stabilizing the economy, the Malaysian government has implemented various movement control orders during the pandemic. Due to the constant changes in the restrictions and the implementations of this movement control order, the locals have subconsciously developed a phenomenon known as the pandemic fatigue.
Pandemic fatigue occurs when people who are forced to abide with the pandemic prevention measures portray symptoms such as unable to focus, having less appetite, sleep deprived, or getting angry or pressured easily. Humans are energy-based. If they're forced to comply with the government's protocol, they'll lose this energy, which will cause them to feel fatigue.
Those who have long-term issues with their lives and solitary seniors are much more prone in developing pandemic fatigue. If a person has pandemic fatigue for long periods of time, it might develop into a serious psychological disease.
If a person is still unable to accept and still not contented, this emotion of discontentment will slowly hurt ourselves. They'll be unhappy day by day, and when their emotion is at a low point, they'll feel helpless and hopeless. Slowly, these people will start to develop depression.
Facing this unpredictable situation of the pandemic, besides practicing all the pandemic prevention measures, we must also learn how to adjust our own mental condition, eliminating all negative emotions caused by the pandemic fatigue.
During the pandemic, if you still have a job, you need to be grateful. If you're jobless, you need to learn how to adapt, having the wisdom and courage to embrace changes. Most importantly, we should simplify our lifestyles, listing what is important and what is not. We need to learn how to let go and learn to change. This is what we call survival of the fittest.
In this era where information can be attained anywhere, there are too many fake news, which will instill fear in the hearts of the people. However, we can rely on the information provided by reliable sources such as the Health Ministry or the World Health Organization, learning the correct way of pandemic prevention methods. Lastly, we should browse limited news on the pandemic so as to prevent ourselves from being bombarded by too much information.